Let me do a sound check with Troy Hood. Troy, are you on?
I'm here. Thank you.
And you bet. And we've given over the control to you too. You might wiggle that mouse and see if it's working for you. And Troy's going to give a presentation on the New Mexico Association of Conservation Districts Technical Service Provider Program, how they onboard employees of that program. Actually, they're contractors within that program. So don't let me take any more away from your presentation, Troy. Go ahead and start through your presentation, please.
You did a really good job of summarizing. Thanks, Ray. Good morning. Thanks for the opportunity to be here. I am, as you said, Troy Hood. I work for the New Mexico Association of Conservation Districts, NMACD. I'm a retired NRCS employee myself, so what you're going to hear a presentation on is going to sound like a whole lot of NRCS activities. And my presentation is really more into an employment program, though that has turned out to be a really good training and a career development path for our employees. So with that in mind, we call it our Technical Service Provider Program. And is this working? Yeah, there we go. Technical Service Provider Program, TSP. Get my mouse to working right. A little bit of an introduction. Our program began in July of 2003, so we're almost into 17 years of it. And the whole purpose of it was to provide technical services to the NRCS in New Mexico. The reason being for this is about that time, NRCS in New Mexico particularly was really experiencing a tremendous growth in the demand for Farm Bill cost incentive programs, such as the Environmental Quality Incentive Program. Example, it went up from a very few $1 million to over $20 million in just a couple of years. And as a result, NRCS was not able to fund and staff positions fast enough and in a way to meet those programs. So this program was established for that purpose at that time. It's evolved into doing other things, which you'll hear me talk about as we go on. And of course, the program is authorized by the USDA, the Farm Bill program. It's very much in cooperation with these people that you see here. Natural Resource Conservation Service, the New Mexico Department of Agriculture, the Soil and Water Conservation Commission, and the Soil and Water Conservation Districts in New Mexico. The funding that we have comes through it is actually a funding agreement between the NRCS and the New Mexico Department of Agriculture, whereby the state of New Mexico provides 50% of the funding through NMDA, and NRCS provides the other 50%, plus the office space and equipment, because our folks are working in NRCS offices to provide the assistance that they need. And we're working with about an annual funding of approximately $1.1 million. And as I said, it's a through agreement. Now, our NMACD is involved in it. It was a competitive process through NMDA where we competed for the program and was awarded a program where right now we're into a 4-year contract to provide the services as required by the program. The purpose of the program, excuse me, I went too far. The purpose for our program, what we call TSP program, first and foremost was set up to provide staffing for technical assistance to NRCS offices in New Mexico, as I explained, because of the strong demand for the programs and helping NRCS meet those staffing shortages where they need. Of course, the whole idea is to work with agriculture producers to help meet their increasing demands for the Farm Bill program's assistance. One of the key aspects of all this, though, is to provide training and work experience to employees in New Mexico. And as you can see, we are there to provide employment opportunities, provide training and work experience for our employees. Big part one that's been very successful for us is to help employees who are interested in a career in natural resource conservation is to develop a career path for them. With the idea being that when we hire these folks to work for NMACD and they work in the NRCS office under their guidance, they get a lot of experience, develop their careers, decide if they like the program and show how well they can do it. So when they're ready to compete for a position, they have an advantage. They're a little up on everybody else because they've learned a lot about the programs and the programs and how to do the work and so forth. Another key aspect of our program has been to drive employment in the local communities. And by that, I mean we recruit in the local communities. We don't recruit statewide or anywhere else. Not to say that someone from outside couldn't apply, they can, but we're really trying to provide employment in local communities. And New Mexico, as you know, has a lot of small communities throughout the state. And so wherever we can provide employees out there, we're appreciated. Our program goes into the type of positions that we have. First, I'll start off what we call our farm field program specialists. These folks are more program and administrative support personnel of our NRCS. One of the key ideas for this type of position was that NRCS was really wanting their folks, their technical people, to be out in the field, to be meeting with producers and working with them. So the Farm Bill Program Specialist learns the programs and helps producers apply for programs, helps them with the contracts, process their payments, and they're in the office so that the NRCS technical people can be out in the field. We also have a number of resource conservation specialists, and by this I mean rangeland management specialists, soil conservationists, and we've even actually had a couple of archaeologists on our staff because archaeology in this state has really proven to be a big demand. And these folks, and I will mention this, these folks perform duties that would be the same thing as if an NRCS person was doing it, whether it's a soil conservationist or a rangeland management specialist or whatever, with the idea, of course, they're doing the work that NRCS needs done. A big part of our program are soil conservation technicians, and I've heard technicians really development programs being mentioned, and that's a key aspect of our program. And again, they perform the same duties that an NRCS soil conservation technician might do. And they meet the same criteria, and our resource specialists that we hire and everyone has to meet the same qualification criteria that the NRCS or the federal government would require. We also have an engineering technician, which is a little more specialized than a soil conservation technician. Again, that performs the same type of duties as an engineering technician would do in New Mexico. We have now some at times wildlife or biology specialists, and this has really came about because our program started out primarily to work with the NRCS to meet their demands. With the last few years, the Bureau of Land Management has stepped in and be a key partner to us, and they're asking for assistance. So we're now providing employees to work with them, most of them in the wildlife and biology specialists. I think most of you from the western states realize that New Mexico, like other states, has an awful lot of public lands. And that's where the Bureau of Land Management, the Forest Service, particularly come into being because they have a lot of public lands. So we're now working across all, if you will, all agency boundaries to provide assistance, training, and employment to meet the needs of these agencies rather than by an agency by agency type of program. Go into a little bit of what I call components of our program, NMACD TSP program, and really what are our components? Well, I've already mentioned one of this. We call these folks Farm Bill employees. The reason being they're funded through the Farm Bill program, national program, and that's where they were hired for doing and to be doing. These employees are hired by NMACD, but they're located at the local NRCS offices, and they're staffed according to the needs that NRCS provides, saying this is the type of position we need, and this is where we need them. So we provide the employees there. They are employees of NMACD. We pay them, but they are under the direction and guidance of the NRCS technicians and conservationists. These folks, as I said, they assist producers who want to participate in Farm Bill programs. In New Mexico, the three major ones are the Environmental Quality Incentive Program, the Conservation Stewardship Program, and the Conservation Reserve Program, primarily on the east side of the state. So our people are there to help them participate in these programs. I mentioned to you, they're paid by NMACD, but they're supervised by NRCS staffs with input from SWCDs. I mentioned the Bureau of Land Management a minute ago. We have 6 employees right now that work with BLM, and they are under the Bureau of Land Management supervision and guidance for going to work that they need to do. NMACD manages the personnel program and budget, and that's my job as the program coordinator and to oversee the personnel operations to make sure we're working okay, to work very closely with the NRCS, with the local conservation district, et cetera, to meet the needs, and everything is working fine. We have another program that started out about 10 years ago, and this came about in a way to get the districts more involved in the process and to help districts, particularly those smaller ones, who hadn't been involved with managing personnel and so forth. So to get them involved and have them part of the program, what we call the District Capacity Program, Farm Bill employees. And that program is a little different in that the employee is hired by the district, local conservation district. We have an agreement with that district that spells out the terms and how it will work. But the district hires that employee, they supervise that employee, they pay that employee. They're responsible for those functions. That employee will work part-time with districts and part-time doing work for NRCS. And that varies by district. We have 7 districts in the state right now that are participating in this program. And it goes all the way from 1 day a week for the district, 1 day for the NRCS, to one person works 3 days for the NRCS. And it all comes back again to the workload needs, the staffing that they need, and where we don't need necessarily a full-time employee somewhere, but where a part-time employee can come in and really help the district and do the work that NRCS requires too. NMACD reimburses the district for the time that the employee performed work for NRCS. And this funding comes under the same agreement that we have with the New Mexico Department of Agriculture. So this is the second part of it. The employees that NMACD hires and directly oversees, and those employees that are hired by the local conservation districts. I mentioned a while ago, we have the Bureau of Land Management now participating. And again, these folks are hired based on the request from the Bureau of Land Management, where they need a position and what type of position they need. They're hired by NMACD, but they are located at the participating BLM office. Their work assignments, their supervision, are all provided by BLM staff. And again, my job as a coordinator is to work with them and coordinate activities to make sure that things are going okay and our staffing is according to what they need. The employees are paid by NMACD, and Bureau of Land Management then reimburses NMACD under a contract that we have with the Bureau of Land Management. We have a fourth one now, and Ray alluded to this a while ago, is what we call contractors. We call them on demand. And what are these folks? Well, after the program got started, NRCS went through a period of time where they were losing a lot of retired folks who were retiring, and they retired with a lot of expertise, a lot of knowledge, and they were still interested though in involving in conservation work. And so NRCS would be needing special assistance at different locations on a demand, not on a regular basis. It could be anywhere to helping develop conservation plans, coordinated resource management plans, doing status reviews, whatever. But so we brought this program in, what we call on demand, because these folks work as requested and when they're available. They are independent contractors. They're not employees, so they have no regular work schedules. They do work, as I said, on demand. And they're not obligated to work specific schedules or assignment. And as independent contractors, they can do work for other folks that they will do. And some of them will contract with the local conservation district or someone else to do work as needed. And as part of that, this program has turned out to be a really important part of our program. We have over 30 such of these folks on board. And I didn't mention this, they're all retired, either NRCS, Bureau of Land Management, Forest Service, state forestry employees who have a lot of expertise in the conservation programs. And they know districts, they know how to work with districts, and so forth. What we do, NMACD will schedule contractors as needed. And there are 2 or 3 of us called program managers that will schedule the contractors based on requests that may come from the NRCS or from the Bureau of Land Management or from someone else. The contractors are paid by hours, and they include travel, mileage, experience. As I said before, they work on an as needed basis. As contractors, which is one of the requirements to meet the contractor definition, they are responsible for their working out of their office. They're responsible for providing their own vehicle, their insurance, their equipment, etc. When they're given an assignment, they go and perform the assignment, and they provide a report to the NRCS or Bureau of Land Management, who then has the authority to go on and proceed from there and authorize or what they need to do. Now to get into a little bit how the training and mentoring part enters into our program, and that's where we get into it. As I mentioned a while ago, our started out with the purpose of providing employment. It's turned out to be much more than that. And it really met the needs that are being needed, but it also proved to be a good training and work experience for a lot of people and provide employment to a lot of folks. We start out by giving each new employee a welcome letter, and that just includes basic information you need to get your payroll tax form need. But we also provide them an employee handbook that describes the program and policies that we follow. Then I will go out with each one and we'll sit down and do a review of their job description, who the supervisors are, how that works, the employment conditions they work on. What is the role of NMACD and what is the role of NRCS and the district, and how does all this come together and how does it work? And a little bit of program history and so forth. One thing that I will do in working with these employees, because we have a lot of folks coming on board who really are interested in getting on board with the NRCS or BLM or Forest Service. So one of the things I will do is work with them, review their qualifications, discuss maybe roles and things they might need to do to get to go that route. Many of the employees, maybe if they want to be a soil conservationist, won't have the soils that they need. So we'll help them get their soils that they need and go on from there. And so we work closely with the employees on trying to help them first do their job, learn the programs, and being able to participate higher up if they want to do so. We also, most of the training, went too far. Most of the training comes through the NRCS. Annually, they put on programs, provide training on conservation planning to get them certified to be planners. There's technician development training that goes on with the technicians, really training on a regular on-time basis. NMACD provides training as we go into where we can do it. Or if it's outside training it needs to do, then we'll see if the employees get a chance to do that. And to learn the SWCD roles, the relationships between everybody. Because I can't really emphasize enough that this whole program from the very beginning and continuing on is really a partnership program with all the various agencies, local conservation districts and so forth to make it work. We do have periodic meetings and training within NRCS. NMACD has annual meetings or more so with employees to work with them and so forth. I mentioned earlier that we review their career development qualifications and opportunities for types of position and get them to work and if with NRCS or another agency to make sure, hey, are they qualified and how can they compete for a position? With that in mind, I might talk about results of our program and a couple of things that I haven't mentioned that I do want to mention. One of the training programs we have is we have what's called District Certification Training Program. This training is really aimed for new district supervisors who are elected or come on board who may not know very much about what does a district do, what responsibilities do they have, what can they do. So this training is oriented, and it's like a one-day training to help them learn the roles and answer questions they might have, what they can do or not do. It's turned out that a lot of district employees and a lot of our own employees and others, a lot of times will sit in on this. They'd like to know what districts do and how it works better. So that's one of the things we also do. We also have in New Mexico, and I haven't covered this in the slide, is what we call the COLT, C-O-L-T training. This is a program that was designed, quite frankly, because in New Mexico, probably similar to other states, conservation, our cooperators, our district supervisors are very experienced. Most of them are getting older. Many of them are getting ready to retire and do something else. So with that in mind, NMACD came up with a program about 3 years ago to start getting younger conservation-oriented folks who are interested in working with district and become district supervisors or go on beyond that. So the program has been set up to get them training, get them orientation. They attend national and statewide programs that go on and get them entered so that they can come into the role and get on board with the conservation districts. And it's really to keep really a vibrant workforce going all the time. Some of the things that I should say has worked well for us and what is our accomplishments, if you will say that, it's enabled NRCS first to meet the demands that they had. And the Bureau of Land Management now that they're a part of the program. We really have strong support from the state legislature, from NRCS and BLM. Our program's been going almost 17 years. It started out really as an annual program, and I didn't mention this, but we get annual funding. So we tell our employees that, you know, if the state doesn't get the funding or NRCS can't match the funding, then our program would be over. But because of the support that the state likes it, NRCS and the other agencies like it, It has gone on and it's grown significantly since we started the basic of the program. It has, as I said, strong support from NRCS. One of the things I mentioned a while ago is one of our objectives when we started out with the program, not only to provide the support that NRCS needed and to provide the local employment, was to maybe help employees interested in a conservation field to get into career path and help them get to that point. Since our inception of our program, we've had over 40 former Farm Bill employees go to work for the NRCS, the Forest Service, the Bureau of Management, the local conservation districts, and others. And that's one thing that we're very proud of and very happy, because that was a big part of our program, was to get these employees brought on board. And it's not always the technical people that come on board. A lot of our administrative people have been able to get on, get qualified as technicians, and get into careers in that. It's been a proven track record by the fact that it's been effective, it's been efficient, and it's also provided career opportunities. And it's been more flexible than I had first thought it did, because over the years we changed to include the district capacity program. We changed to include Bureau of Management and other state agencies in the program and provide that sort of support. It's been cost effective because it makes the best use of the money. The costs are shared between the state of New Mexico, NRCS, the local conservation districts, and other federal agencies, and so forth. It provides employment at local community levels, which is one of the things that we really wanted to do, and so forth. One thing I didn't mention when I was talking about on-demand contractors, they've also proven to be very good mentors to NRCS and new conservation employees. The past 2 years, NRCS in New Mexico has been able to hire on a significant number of new people. And they come on board with the basic tools, the education and the qualifications, but they don't, a lot of times they lack the experience and how to work with districts, how to work with landowners. So a lot of our on-demand contractors turn out to work with them. When they go out in the field to work with a landowner, these folks go with them and they're able to see how to work with a landowner, what to be looking for, and help them develop their career. As I mentioned, it's provided employment at local community levels, which has been a big part of our program. And with that, I think that would be it. If somebody has any questions, I would be happy to answer them. Appreciate the opportunity to present our program.